Okay, my friend, there's only really one place to start this weekend, and I say that based off the last time we did a podcast. Erik ten Hag was still manager of Manchester United, having lost 2-1 to West Ham. That has changed. He's lost his job. We know Ruben Amorim's been appointed, won't come into the hot seat until November the 11th, so another week before they get their man. But the amount of column inches, Rob, the amount of media attention that this drawn, obviously based off the size and history of Manchester United. So before we get into the game today against Chelsea, just your thoughts, Rob, on Ten Hag and what legacy he's left, and your thoughts on Amorim and what the future might look like. Young, I think he's 39-year-old Portuguese coach who comes with good pedigree, but obviously hasn't been in the job that long.
Yeah, I mean, just quickly on Ten Hag, Rob. I mean, I've said quite a few times that I thought he should have been given, a more time based on what the club had done.
Yeah.
They didn't do that. They fired him. So I think the first thing that I would say is that they made a big mistake in the summer. Ineos, this new kind of group, that CEO, director of football, all experienced guys that are going to take the club forward, the structure that we've talked about so many times, Rob, made a big error. They made an error. And okay, everybody makes errors, but let's have that right, is that them with a full review and assessing who was around at the time to take forward the club, they thought that Erik ten Hag was the best guy. They bring in, to my knowledge, at least 2 full-time coaches to help him, so the change of coaching staff and all the players that were brought in to help Erik and figure it out. Now, after, I feel like eight games, maybe less than that. I read something that the decision was made earlier.
Yeah.
So given all those changes, and that decision to keep him, they basically admitted to their mistake after this last match round and fired him. So, wow. Okay, not a great start from Ineos. Let's confirm that. But now the appointment of Ruben Amorim makes a lot of sense, doesn't it? I think we've all read the same stuff, Rob. We've all read all those inches and all the articles, and it does seem like a really ideal fit, given a strong... The main thing for me after Erik ten Hag, and legacy-wise, he won a couple of trophies, but there was never a sense that this was really going in the right direction. It was always kind of hanging on, and some strange performances, and but I think the new guy ticks a lot of boxes. And what I was going to say is that I want to see a strong tactical coach. I want to see a strong coach that really gets ahead of this squad and realizes what it's got and the best way to play. And let's see it, because a lot of the other big clubs that have made new coaches, we've seen them play in this weekend, Rob, even Maresca at Chelsea. You can see what they're doing. Tottenham, Aston Villa, all the big clubs. Even Liverpool, that's a bit more subtle, but you can see what the new coach has brought. And I think Amorim, you did a really nice analysis today, Rob, and what to expect. It is a 3-4-3 system with some little intricacies that's unique to the way that he does things. We have to see how that fits in, and certain players fit into different roles. Again, I've read a ton of stuff this week about how it's going to suit some players and maybe not others. And by the way, Rob, he might not even... It doesn't necessarily mean that when he comes and looks at this squad of players, he might say, well, this isn't really a 3-4-3 squad.
It's a back 14.
We'll do something different. So I think it's another new start. And, a lot of people will be hoping for the best. Now, whether, let's see what sort of start he gets off to. But I think it's a very good appointment after they basically admitted to their error in the summer of extending Ten Hag, and let's see what this guy can do.
I think I agree with you, Rob, in terms of the error, certainly. Listen, I was a bit like you, was thinking, well, having given him the role, having given him an extended contract, do we need to see 15, 16, 17, do we get to Christmas and then take a view? Listen, they decided, it seemed earlier, I believe obviously the Liverpool result, the Spurs performance and result was probably nail in the coffin for Ten Hag. I have to say, Rob, in 2.5 years of looking back at Ten Hag, and I'm not disrespecting the League Cup and FA Cup that are, serious bits of silverware to win and part of your history, but it just always felt temporary to me, Rob. It never felt like it was a long-term position. Every month we could be deciding, should he stay, should he not stay? You can make an argument why you should give him an extra month. You can make an argument why you should sack him. What I would say from Ineos's point of view, and I totally agree with you that I think, came to the wrong decision by extending his contract. I think they, for the first time, Rob, in a number of years, I thought they acted like the club the size they were in rectifying the error. They went after their man, their number one choice. They looked at the contract. They paid what was required. They paid the extra money that Sporting wanted to get the coaching staff with them. And they've got their man in place within the next 7 days, and they start to work in a whole different way, with a whole different structure, with some, serious people in the right places now. And if it's to work for Amorim, then great. But I would think, Rob, this is the start of the new Manchester United. We forever keep going back to the Sir Alex Ferguson era and the 2013, the last title. But you know what now? This club is moving forward. It's modernised, like all the big European clubs. It's getting the right people in place. And I think that if Amorim works, great. But if Amorim doesn't work, the players they bring in, the structure at the football club will be there for the next person, if it's not Amorim, to take this club on. And I think that's the important point. That it almost feels like Manchester United have just started to modernise. They were a bit old. It was like a great old historic building, but now it's been modernised, and it's been modernised with one of the highly regarded young coaches. He's absolutely not the finished article. There is an element of gamble, like you see with every coach, but he's got a plan. He's got a way of action. Everything I read about him, Rob, in terms of his man management, his empathy with the players, I just think little things, Rob, like he's going to be more in touch with Garnacho and Diallo and Rashford and Højlund, and the communication's just going to be so much better. I think that alone, Rob, we've both been around football clubs where if the mood in the dressing room isn't great, the football isn't great. And I just think this guy, at the very least, can come in and change the mood. We'll have to see how that all plays out. But, that's my sort of take on the Ten Hag and Amorim, and we'll obviously over the coming weeks see how that plays out in terms of team shape and personnel and decisions, some maybe big ones that he makes. So let's move it to the game today, Rob. So Ruud van Nistelrooy was interim manager. He got a win in the League Cup against Leicester. I think it was 5-2 midweek against Leicester, getting 5 goals, which in itself, 5 goals against another Premier League team. I know it wasn't a great Leicester team, but you take the 5 goals and the confidence against a Chelsea team that had lost in the League Cup against Newcastle, but have been in really good form, sitting fourth in the Premier League table. Did you see anything different about Manchester United in a way that was maybe positive? If I'm Amorim looking at the video, what am I happy with? What might I liked from today?
Well, I just think the energy, Rob. You said earlier about the mood around the place, right? When Ten Hag's there and it's not going well and there's certain players are out of favour, whatever. And obviously that's been freed. And we see this all the time. We see this all the time with new manager bumps and different people coming in. Now, of course, we know what's happening with the managerial situation. But there was a freedom about Man United, Rob, that I enjoyed. I enjoyed the work ethic. I enjoyed the lively start. I enjoyed Marcus Rashford running back and out his fullback a few times, and the energy that they showed, and the crowd kind of seemed energized. I thought they were lively. Bruno Fernandes, Rob, playing as a number 10 and not Mazraoui. Like normal decisions. Casemiro playing in the middle of the park with Ugarte, kind of 2 holders. You got your playmaker, you got your wingers. You got a standard back 4. I know you got your striker Højlund back fit now. I just thought there was good energy in a difficult game. Chelsea now is a difficult game. The way that they play tactically, it's very challenging, and I just enjoyed. I didn't think there was much else in terms of. I don't know. There's no time for Van Nistelrooy to do too much. He's just putting them out in a sensible formation, getting them fired up, producing the energy on the sideline, which the celebration was hilarious, wasn't it, from Van Nistelrooy? 4 minutes later. Rewind the clock about 30 years or whatever it was, and his celebration was just like him scoring a goal. So I just thought that was it, Rob, for me. Energy, good, like worked hard, no errors, no anxious playing out of the back. It was just a generally an energized performance.
Yeah, I totally agree. I thought it was a day when I thought it was an okay performance against a team that's probably better than you and in better form than you. People did look a bit freer and refreshed. I just said sometimes mentally, Rob, we've all been there again where things aren't quite right. You're thinking about what manager wants. It's not that natural. Your movements don't become a bit clunky. I just thought people looked a bit freed up. I think, Rob, and we did a little breakdown just we just put 6 or 7 of the chances. Manchester United's wasteful play in the attacking third is something that Ammon's going to have to tidy up, isn't it? They do create chances. I mean, we both saw, I think you saw highlights. I watched the game last week, West Ham v Manchester United. Manchester United could have been 4-0 up at half-time. Probably Eric Ten Hag would still be in the job. But they create chances. But there's a lack of control.
Composure,
lack of clinical edge in and around the box, which is something the new manager is going to have to work on, Rob.
Yeah, and also, it's quality in it. Like it's a lot of that. And I just thinking of the Bruno Fernandes shot, the lashed over the bar. Yeah, I mean, he's got quality to finish. He really has. Quality. But Garnacho's can score amazing goals, can miss some chances. I think Højlund's also in that category. So, Rashford, we've talked so much about him. Sometimes he scores incredible goals and then misses other ones. So I don't know. That's going to be a work in progress. And that might be, in the transfer market, making some changes to that. They did create some chances today. I thought Chelsea looked a better team in general, much more grooved, much more know what they're doing expectantly. United with a different manager, there's a little bit more off the cuff. It's funny, Rob, when either side got the comfortable possession of the ball, you're watching the game and you can see Chelsea's patterns. You can see what they're trying to do.
Into Jackson, they go wide, runners from outside coming in. You see them set plays.
The Mustoe going into that little number 8 position, the 2 holding players, the 3 centre-backs splitting, the wingers staying really wide, Jackson linking it together. You can see what they're doing in possession. Where United is like, what are they going to do here? And to be fair, they managed to
created some stuff, didn't they?
Created some stuff, and Casemiro's ball over the top was a beauty. Was an absolute beauty for the penalty that Bruno stuck away to go 1-0 up, wasn't it, in the second half? Yeah. So I think Chelsea fell away a little bit. There was periods of I've really enjoyed Chelsea, and they're kind of exciting team to watch. Yeah. But they're still very raw, Rob, aren't they? And they still have periods where they make bad decisions and bad giveaways. And some of the football is really, really great. They cut through Man United a few times. I thought they were particularly poor in the final third today, Rob. Yeah. If I look back on the notes that I made, it's like a lot of it was final third where they've normally produced a little bit of magic. Yeah, Palmer looked like a couple
wasn't his day really today, was it, Palmer?
Not quite. He had a decent enough game. Madueke had a poor one, I thought. Rob. Madueke on the right had a poor one. Neto had some flashes. So their final third is what I think the manager will be. But when I looked at Lavia and Caicedo, and I probably said it last weekend as well. I particularly like 2 midfield generals, Rob, in there. I know that other teams do it differently. Liverpool have 2 number 8s that kind of go back and come back. They're a little different. Man City obviously don't do that unless they push somebody into midfield. Yeah. They have 2 guys there all the time. Yeah. I think that's a really strong foundation. Caicedo and Lavia playing particularly well. I think Enzo did well when he came on for Lavia. So Chelsea really is a work in progress, and United a bit more off the cuff, loads of energy. I mean, that was a tough game for Chelsea's way, Rob.
Yeah, it's a tough game for both teams, really, isn't it, in some respects? Yeah. It's interesting, though, what I like about Maresco, and more I hear him on press conference, Rob, he's one of my first go-tos now, because he tells you stuff. It was really interesting that he talked about Caicedo and Lavia and why Enzo's not in, and he hasn't fell out with Enzo. But he talked about exactly what you were saying. Having those 2 in the middle of the field, it doesn't mean that, when it's it's Caicedo with Enzo, and Enzo goes moving forward, there's too much for Caicedo to do across the pitch, and at times it's almost like a thankless task. When they're both together, he said there's a physicality, there's a maturity, there's a strength that helps us to build up in the other areas and be resistant to the counter-attack. And he explains it so well, and he's got such a good manner about him that it's hard to argue. And again, like you say, I think we're seeing the development of a young partnership. I kind of get, Rob, that they probably help each other. Know that there's been a bit of stick. Know there's been a bit of criticism about how much being paid about. I'm almost like, come on, let's go together. He's 23 years of age, Caicedo. 23. He probably hasn't played 100 Premier League games yet. Yeah. You know what I mean? There's so much more to come, and the goal today is an absolute bonus because he's not known for that. But I agree. I think that there's still a work in progress, but so many good things to look for.
They're learning today, Rob. That's a good learning experience today at Old Trafford. Like,
correct.
You know, a lively Old Trafford.
Yeah,
they're learning all the time.
4 minutes after going down, they got back in the game.
Yeah, just one player I just want to mention just before we move on. And there's been no talk about him, and he's part of the Chelsea back three, but I think he's a potential superstar. Wesley Fofana. And I've chucked him in nice and early, and he's not underappreciated because he wasn't outstanding today. But if you look at the moments where he does get caught a little bit one-on-one, he can have quick. He's very, very quick. Yeah. We know he's super confident on the ball. We know he's had a ton of injury issues. So I'm not kind of blasting it out there. I'm just saying to everybody,
keep an eye on.
When you watch him, keep an eye on him. Just watch him play, because he's a defender. And he's got great pace. I think he's a potential to be an outstanding, really world-class centre-back, given experience, given a little bit of time, and given staying injury-free. My goodness, he missed the whole season, didn't he? So he's on his way back. But I just think he's something to watch for. I think he's special. I really, really do.
Just before we move on, mate, I want to just get your thought on this. I've just returned to Manchester United, and we know Amorim's coming in, and we'll see how that all looks. Ruud is the interim manager. So I suggested to Bex, just when we're watching the game, I'm seeing the chances and the young players and whatever. It's not quite working, as you say, in the last third. Only 9 Premier League goals, this season tells its own story. And I said to Bex, if I was Amorim and it fitted with Ruud van Nistelrooy, I would make him part of my staff and give him the responsibility of working with the forward-type players. I think that's a specialist role. Ruud's making all the noises that he wants to stay at the football club. Who knows? Listen, if Amorim decides I want it clean, I want everybody out, I'll bring my guys and we'll do it my way, I get that. But I also, just for me, Rob, I'm just thinking, if I'm Garnacho, if I'm Højlund, and I know I'm working with Ruud van Nistelrooy, on periods, on afternoons, on mornings, on specific work that I need to become a better forward, I think that's something that Manchester United and Amorim can use going forward. And even if it's just this season, a bit of continuity, another voice, somebody around the dressing room who's got that history of Manchester United. It's something I think if I was Amorim, I would explore and investigate. I think Tim was of the other opinion, not sure if Ruud would want to stay, and I think it's better just to clear decks and start again.
Yeah.
Where are you on this one?
Well, I think it's, first off, if it's a big question. I guess the first thing is Amorim. Does he want him on that front bench, right? Does he want him as one of his assistants? Is that a distraction, being there, having him there? So I'm not sure he'd want that, right?
Okay.
And of course, he'd love Ruud van Nistelrooy to be a forwards coach at the football club. Yeah. But Van Nistelrooy is going to want more than that, Rob. He's not going to want to just show up and training and take the strikers for finishing. He's already managed a club. He's had a little taste of it now at Manchester United. I don't think he would stay at the club just to train the forwards. That would be magnificent. But I just don't think they're going to get that be lucky enough for him to want to do that. Now, maybe if he's an assistant coach,
as assistant, he has all the duties and that's part of it.
Absolutely. But I would tend to think that Ruben Amorim might just want, I think he's bringing his whole staff, isn't he? I'm reading. So I don't think that's going to happen. But I know what you mean. I mean, the connection between the fans. I mean, we both played against Van Nistelrooy many times. Yeah. He's right in our era. He was a magnificent player. He was right up there with Thierry Henry for me as the best striker around in those days. But so we'll see. But it's a good shout. I mean, when you see him there connecting like that, it was
something in there. There's something positive about it. Yeah. But we'll see. Yeah, big decisions for Manchester to make it down the road.
Hi there, I'm Rebecca Lowe, studio host of NBC's coverage of the Premier League. Don't forget to hit subscribe to watch more videos all season long. And if you want even more Premier League content, from original series to live matches, head over to Peacock.